Okay, just a bit of cleanup and we are almost done. I'm going to go to the project panel and I want to move the get player request into the project folder to keep things organized as planned. Now I go back to my get player request workflow, and what I want to do is add some information about this workflow. I can do that with a comment. So I'm going to type search in the activity panel. I'm going to search for a comment and I put this right on top of here. And what I want to do inside of this comment, I'm going to go to properties and I'm going to expand the text section of it, and I want to describe what this workflow does. So I describe what the workflow does. I'm going to put this inside of here, and this is exactly what it does. I'm going to hit OK, and I highly recommend that you do this if you want to be a professional RPA developer. You need to add comments. Another thing you can do to your workflow is add annotations. So you want to describe what the entire workflow does here. All you can do is right click on this sequence and you can add annotations. And what you want to add is what describes this workflow, what it does. Okay. Next thing I highly recommend that you do is that you can describe what each of these activities do. In fact, we are supposed to do this as we develop, so it doesn't have to cause us so much stress. So actually, I have put this in the comments. I'm going to copy this. So the assign does this, and I'm going to add an annotation to this assign, add annotation, and I'll place this here. And I'm going to do the same for my show form activity. I'm going to put it down in my show form, right click, add annotations, and this. So I'm going to repeat this for every other activity, including the do while and the if statement and whatever I have here. So I'm going to do this off the recording. Okay, looking all nice and clean. So while adding these annotations, I figured out that there was something that is missing in our get player request, and that is the close form. After getting the data from the player, we need to close the form. So we're going to look for a close form activity. I'm going to drag in this activity right here, and it's going to say which of the form do I want to close. I'm going to say I want to close this start form, and that's simple. And once again, I'm going to add annotation to this, add annotations, and add annotations, and I'm going to place what the close form is used for. That is all, and I think everything looks good. Now, before we hop out of here, let's give this get player request one very last test. For this test, we're going to be testing it in main. So I'm going to close out of the get player request. Before I do that, I want to remove every breakpoint. So I'm going to toggle off the breakpoint and make sure that there is no breakpoint inside of here anymore. Now I'm going to close out of the get player request and close out of the start form. I go to my project and I want to open my main workflow. And now I want to have a sequence inside of my main workflow. I drag in a sequence and put it in my main workflow and head back to the project window. And I want to get the get player request invoked or called in my main workflow. Now I have this yellow sign because I have arguments that are coming in or out of this workflow called get player request. I hit import arguments and I want to bind the arguments. So I want to bind the game request to a game request variable on the body of my main. I can do that by hitting Ctrl K to quickly create that game request and enter, and this should automatically create a game request variable on my main. So if I go to variables, I should see game request. Good. Now the next thing, I just want to have a simple log message here. Log message. Dragging a log message right below the get player request, and I just want to write something there to put a stop on it. Blah. Now info, I select info level, and I want to toggle the breakpoint. Now I'm going to hit debug, and let's see this in action. The form opens nicely, and I can provide my name as Great Man. And I could select the number of questions to be 7 and question type of question to be history, difficulty to be medium. Once I hit play, automatically it's out of the get player request, and you can see game request is returned successfully into our main. I'm going to hit the edit sign, and it looks really nice. Is that not exciting enough? And also the form also closes nicely. You can see there is no form open, but the data from the form has been retrieved into the variable. Let's take a look at the data again one more time to check that everything is all good. Question category makes sense, difficulty, and everything returns nicely. All right, I'm going to stop this, and I will see you guys in the next section where we dive into other workflow.